Extreme Anime Radio. Welcome, everybody, to the Extreme Anime Radio Podcast. A little bit late, but we made it to Season 8. Hey, that rhymed. I'm JR, and joining me on the other side, finally, after sorting out all sort of camera stuff, is Mr. Neff Canuck. Hello, sir.
Good evening, sir. Yes, the fancy monitor that I now have, which has a built-in camera, has a camera that's crap.
Yeah, we tried it in the beginning of the show, and now actually, if Neff looks a little bit bigger than usual, it's because I had to resize him on my end, and the original camera that he tried out made him look very blurry. So I think this is the best we could do for you tonight, sir.
Yeah, and it also doesn't help that I had a background light, pun intended, that helped fill in some of the darkness in the cave here. Unfortunately, I had to put the old camera back on to use it, meaning that the backlight is gone.
Oh, wow. Hello, Flax. Thank you for your resubscription. I appreciate it. We are here, and as you can see on the screen here, we've kind of updated our little scroll that debuted during yesterday's Ace Attorney show. And it includes everybody's favorite platform, X. I'm just trying to rile them up over there.
You don't have to try very hard right now. I got news for you.
Well, congratulations, everybody. Welcome to Season 8 premiere of the podcast. It is September, so it is a brand new season that we're starting. Thank you so much for staying with us all this way as we talk about some wonderful things. As our heart bounces around the screen there. Remember that if you are watching us on Twitch or on YouTube, you can listen to this podcast at anchor.fm/anime radio, which will take you to Spotify for podcasters. I think that's what it's called now. And if you're listening to the podcast, watch all of our shenanigans and Neff's technical difficulties by going to Twitch at twitch.tv/Extreme Anime Radio or at YouTube at Extreme Anime Radio. Those things should also be scrolling down there as well. Well, a lot
when you say technical difficulties, at least the electronic ones I can deal with. It's the other technical difficulties that caused us to cut season 7 a little bit short, at least on my end.
Yeah.
And are still affecting, how I go through day-to-day life nowadays.
Yep. But no, we had some help in that regard. Mika, Zelda, and Liz especially helping us out as co-hosts. I want to thank them again publicly for helping us out. And yes, a lot has happened, Neff, since we did that podcast from up in my Northern Territory, if you will. Not the Northern Territories. That's completely different. The Northern Territory where I spend my 2 months of summer out of every year.
Yes, your fortress of solitude,
yes.
So to speak.
But a lot has happened that we could spend a lot of time about, but, this podcast has once again been cut to about 45 minutes tonight, which is an easy thing, I guess.
Well, as I said, hopefully we'll iron out the bugs. I do apologize, folks, because I had a fancy new monitor finally set up for me, and it looks like this monitor isn't quite all it was cracked up to be when they described it to me. Some of
Hmm.
the features work as intended, others not so much.
All right. Do you use it for games and stuff?
Well, it's not really meant for that. It's more meant for having, in this case, multiple displays, and in my case, being able to use the bottom screen as a touch screen, and then the top screen, just use the mouse and do what you need to do.
Oh, nice.
So you can have a couple things going at the same time. So it's not really meant for gaming, although I haven't tried it per se.
Mm-hmm.
It might make things a little easier for certain games, but I know for action games, it would definitely not be recommended.
Right. I on my end have been hooked up back on Flight Simulator ever since I got back here, and now I'm gonna have to put the joysticks away because I'm gonna be taking a real plane in just a few days.
Oh, yes, you have to get ready to fly into. Well, all I can tell you is at least your money will go farther.
Yep. I'll be enjoying Scare Canada, business class.
Okay, enjoying and Scare Canada. Those are two things that may or may not go together, depending on how things break out for you. I'm sorry.
Well, we are close to October, so we can use that, I guess, and have no problems.
Well, I was more referring to the fact that you might be on time, you might be late, you might get a nice flight crew, you might get a flight crew that would rather, be anywhere but on that plane with you.
Or I'll just do what I've been doing all day today and keep saving money on my car rental. And yes, Neff, in the last hour, I saved another $15.
And as I said to you off air, at this rate, you're going to end up being paid to take the car you're renting.
But no, we'll have a nice little recap in about 2 or 3 weeks. After the trip is wrapped up and whatnot. Really looking forward to spending. What is it? My 4th or 5th time up there? I've lost track.
I think it's 4th. Now it might be 5th if we count the one where I went splat and you showed up anyway. That one was sort of like a whoops.
Yeah, and I had the apartment all to myself, which is interesting.
I'm sure it was. I can tell you that after I got back from rehab, it was like I'm walking back into a place that hasn't been cleaned, hasn't been looked after for 4 months, and it was like, oh God, I'm coming home to a haunted house. Ugh.
Wow. Well, as I was saying, that we had a lot happen in the time since we last did a show. Bob Barker passed away, 99 years old. One of the greatest game show hosts of all time.
Yes, unfortunately, someone made the awful joke. He got so close to 100 without going over.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, that was a joke that, I shouldn't have, but hey.
Well, yeah, I can understand. No. One of the things I didn't see much of Bob Barker do is Truth or Consequences.
That was a little bit before my time, I will admit. Although I do recall when The Price is Right was only half an hour.
Oh yeah,
and it was usually paired up with the Match Game, which was the hot game show at the time. With Gene Rayburn as the host, and in some cases there were crossovers.
Yeah,
but in this case it was Bob Barker to the Match Game panel.
Right.
And initially, he played it very differently than as the years went on, and The Price is Right became the much more popular show.
Mm-hmm.
And he knew it. He basically is like, okay, I'm the top dog here, and I'm only here because I want to be. Otherwise, it's not like that football player who says I'm only here because otherwise they'll find me.
When I was looking on my random Facebook posts from time to time saying what sick kids did in the 80s and 90s or something to that regard, and we have several pictures. We have a can of Campbell's soup, we have a bowl of noodles, we have the soda crackers, and we have a picture of Bob Barker hosting The Price is Right.
Pretty much. I mean, he was basically the if you were sick, it's like, okay, that's probably the first thing you saw after you got up, because you normally,
Yeah.
try to get up around 10 or 11 and going, oh, there's Bob Barker.
Yeah.
I'm alive still.
Yeah. But no, it was nice to see that little tribute they did to him on CBS a few weeks ago, showing some of his, very fascinating clips, highlights and some lowlights from his career hosting the show.
I missed that, and I don't know where I can watch that, but I'd really like to see that, because it's one of those things where it's like, I'll remember some of that stuff and go, oh God, I'm old.
Yeah. So, what is it? It's on CBS.com. I don't know how you can get it in Canada. I don't know if you get Paramount Plus. I don't know if Paramount Plus is available for him. We could check.
Well, Paramount Plus is available in Canada. Now, whether or not they'd have this particular broadcast in their catalog in Canada, who knows? Because rights are such weird things up here.
I'll reminisce quickly. My favorite Bob Barker moment. Very interesting, and he played along with it so well. The punch board game?
Mm-hmm.
So, back then, I had top prizes, 1,000, 5,000, and 10,000. This is like in the early 1990s, but it was Bob just a few years into sporting that gray hair of his. And contestant came up, he punched some holes, and he pulled out $5,000. Now, ordinarily, somebody will probably stop at $5,000. But the guy says, I'm going for it. His name was Brian. I remember it now. And Bob was bewildered. It was like, you're going to go for this? Audience, what should he do? And everybody yells, stop! And Brian says something to the likes of, if you're scared, go buy a dog. I'm going for it. So he gave up the 5,000. And Bob was like, oh. And he pulls up the next card. Oh, Brian. He looks at the card, so he kind of, whenever he peeks at the card, he kind of builds up to what might happen. He goes, oh, Brian. Can we change the rules of the game? He gave that up and he got $10,000.
My favorite was always the hole-in-one game. Because Bob Barker was an avid golfer.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, when he had a bad shot, and I'm sure they did not do retakes on this.
Right.
You could just see him just sort of sizzle.
Right.
Especially if the contestant did better than him. He was like, wait a minute, from all the way back here, I got nowhere. And from all the way back here where you had to shoot because you couldn't get any closer, you managed the hole-in-one.
Wow.
I think that's where his iconic moments in Happy Gilmore sort of sprang from. I think he was willing to play along with that frustration. It's just like, this is the one time I can finally, let loose on a golf course.
And Flax's favorite was punchboard. One person got 10,500. So back then, the top prize was 10,000. I think it was a college student, if I remember the clip correctly. He got 500 in a second chance. So he punched out an extra slip and he got 10,000. So he got 10,500, which is a rare accomplishment back then. And then, of course, now the punch board goes up to 25,000.
Well, yeah, inflation is a thing. I mean, I can remember when the dice game was only four digits.
Wow.
And the first digit could only go as high as 6.
Yeah.
Which, again, should tell you, I'm quite old.
And back in the day, I think 25,000. If you made more than that, you The Price is Right. You're one and done. But there were other game shows you can come back as a returning champion. But once you went over 25,000 in earnings, that was it.
Yeah, Price is Right was always one and done. Although they tweaked rules over the years because when they were talking about the Showcase Showdown, for example, used to be, and I'm trying to remember the exact wording of it, because if you
less than 100, less than 100, and then it became 250 or less.
Yeah, so they had to tweak that stuff over the years, and then there are the games that they played that they were there for a while and then they disappeared,
like Professor Price.
Woof. Now, the one that stuck around that always kind of drove me crazy, and that's because of my roots, was the mountain climber.
No.
Because
Cliffhangers.
cliffhanger, yeah. Because all I could hear is, all I can hear is that rotten yodeling, and I just want to, strangle whoever's doing it.
I believe there were 2 instances, if I remember watching Prices Right over the years, where I guess the sound broke and everybody in the audience had to yodel. And then there was another time where the contestant was a professional yodeler, so they let him yodel the guy all the way up.
Okay. Now, would I actually admit to being a professional yodeler, on live television? Probably not.
Yeah.
But hey, if that's your occupation, why not?
Yeah. So, Bob Barker, a lot of memories. We're certainly going to miss him. And, of course, who can forget the Happy Gilmore moment that he had?
Yes. And again, that's one of those moments where it's like, it's fake, it's staged, but you're like, somebody punching out Adam Sandler. Yeah.
That's going to be one of the finest moments, I think, for Bob as well. So, a lot of memories that we could talk about Price is Right and game shows all night long, but it's tough to move on the page in this regard, especially someone who I'm sure many people have held in high esteem for so long just because of the fact that he was a very humble guy. And, they call him the star of The Price is Right, but in reality, I think, he made sure that the stars were the contestants themselves.
Yeah, I mean, he basically was the classic game show host, and he kept that job until he retired from it. Like his demeanor never changed, his delivery never changed, and it just was like The Price is Right was literally just that anachronism because it always felt as if it was from that long ago. I mean, even the sets, up until fairly recently before he retired, they were still, basically at best from the 80s, maybe some of it the 90s, some of the newer games. But everything was just, kept pretty much as it was.
Yeah. Actually, this year they're moving The Price is Right over to new studios in Glendale. Because I guess CBS divested Television City. I forget what the background is on that, so...
So they're not going to shoot it at the Bob Barker studio anymore. Oh,
nope.
Dear.
Haven Studios in Glendale. A few miles away, up and around the Hollywood sign, I think, in Glendale.
Interesting.
So I gotta see what kind of tribute they're gonna do to Bob Barker, considering the Bob Barker studio will cease to exist.
So when you say cease to exist, they're going to knock it down?
I think that's the plan.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ick.
People can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what's going on. Anyway, Nev, I wanted to move on and talk about sports, particularly a banner weekend for New York and New York area football teams. And I think we'll start with the Giants. We'll hold off on the mess that you saw a couple of nights ago. Let's talk about the Giants real quick. I heard a joke the other day that the NFL tried to flex the second half of that game off of NBC.
Well, let me put it this way. There was a single shot during that debacle of Daniel Jones, the QB for the New York Giants.
Yeah.
He looked about as bewildered as I did when the pain medication I take hits a little too hard. It was just like, now I think at that point it was like 30 something. I think it was 30-0 at that point. It was just like this bewildered shot. And it's like, and I'm sitting there going, okay, the game is over. There's nothing you can do. Why is the coach leaving his number one quarterback in to get splattered repeatedly now by the Dallas defense, which played a very good game? I mean, they played the game. The Dallas offense sort of, looked at what the defense was doing and going, yeah, you're doing enough. We don't have to do much. And they didn't.
A true football score in that one. And then And then we turn to the interesting contest that was the Jets and the Bills. Worked on two ends of the spectrum. On one end of the spectrum, you had Aaron Rodgers tearing his Achilles on the fourth play of the game, knocking him out for the entire season. But the Jets come back and win anyway.
Okay, now I will put this down to several things. Number one, the Bills quarterback Josh Allen deciding for some insane reason, which I have not, been made aware of, to, throw balls out into space. And I mean, literally, there was nobody around except Jets players. I'm going, why are you doing these 50-yard bombs when the odds of them succeeding are the same odds as me doing ballet, i.e. 0? Just no, just don't. And it's like, okay. And then the tying score to bring it to overtime, okay? The Bills kicker, Tyler Bass, he doinks it, and he doinks it in. And you can see the entirety of MetLife Stadium go, oh, bleepity bleep, because they know, or they think they know, that, they have just had the football gods, pee on their heads and call it rain. And then overtime. Bills get the ball. Bills go 3 and out. Bills then kick the ball away. And then proceed to allow the Jets to run right past them. And I mean, literally, I could have run past the Bills defense on special teams for that. It was disgusting. They were flying all over the place. Now, I will say this. There was a possibility of a tripping call, but they didn't call it. Okay, fine. Frankly, the way the Bills played that game, they didn't deserve to win anyway. But it's like, it was just not the Bills' night.
Yeah, it wasn't Aaron Rodgers' night either.
As for Mr. Rodgers, he went to the New Jersey neighborhood, and he never came out. Except in a walking boot.
I showed Neff soon after the injury. Apparently, a while back, somebody took a picture of Fred Rogers in Mr. Rogers' neighborhood as he's sitting down in the living room there with his foot crossed over. He's tying his sneaker, and somebody put Aaron Rodgers' face on it. And I showed it to Neff, and he's like, "Yeah, that looks about right."
And the best part was I'm going, yeah, I don't think you want to be, showing him grabbing his ankle right about now.
Yeah.
Yikes.
But no, Coach Saleh is like, yeah, I'll give him a headset if he wants one. Maybe he'll mentor Zach Wilson a little more.
Right now, that's all he's good for. So let's hope that, Zach listens to him.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, Zach Wilson didn't win them that game. No. And although Mr. Saleh says, oh yeah, he's our quarterback, I can guarantee you they're turning over rocks right now in New Jersey trying to find, a suitable quarterback. Now, somebody sent me nightmare fuel with a picture of a Mr. Brady in a Jets uniform. That would be like, because I'm like, okay, wait a minute. We finally got rid of this guy. And not only is he back, but he's back in the AFC East.
How long do you think Brady's going to last in retirement this time?
I honestly think he's done because you watched him last season and he was cooked.
Yeah.
His arm was not doing what he wanted to. His mind was there, but his body was like, nope, I'm done. Mm-hmm. Go bug somebody else.
But yes, that is the NFL, and I was actually happy to watch a good chunk of Red Zone when it aired on Sunday, so that's back. And now, for those of you who may know the history, there's now officially only one Red Zone.
Funny you should mention about Red Zone.
Oh.
Because the rights holder in Canada, now, luckily, I get my Red Zone through another provider, but the other Canadian rights holder for Red Zone has locked it behind a second paywall. It used to be part of the cable TV subscription.
Oh.
But now the rights holder TSN has bumped it to what they call TSN Plus, which has digital only feeds of stuff, including Red Zone and the Manning Cast. So the first Manning Cast, this was the first Manning Cast where the Bills were playing, and I couldn't see it because I didn't want to pay TSN another $8 a month to watch the Manning Cast.
Oh man, we can't watch the Manning Cast when I go up there because we're going to a game.
No, that's Saturday.
What, Saturday? Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, that's now. If you want to watch the Manning Cast, I'll toss $8 on the thing and do it for the But I will say this: the funny thing is, the other major sports provider decided spontaneously to rename their digital platform. It used to be Sportsnet Now Premium. Guess what they called it?
Sportsnet Now Platinum?
No, Sportsnet Plus. Now you have TSN Plus and Sportsnet Plus.
Everything's a plus, Neff.
Exactly. Yeah, plus for your wallet. Now, the only reason I subscribe to those guys is because they have the out-of-market NHL stuff. Hockey's coming, and even though they've watered down what you get, because you used to get, when the NHL did it, both the home and away feeds. Now you get whatever feed Rogers decides to give you.
Yeah.
Which means that, for example, you end up with a feed you don't want to watch. Because in some cases, let's say Boston's playing and they're playing someone, they might only give you the Boston feed.
Right.
No offense to anybody who likes the Boston feed. But if I have to hear Jack Edwards call another hockey game, I will literally stick an ice pick through my brain. Through my eyeball. Because he is that bad. Oh, you want to have a homer for your broadcast. But when it comes to that Boston broadcast, meanwhile, Jay going, he's ranting again. Stop him.
Your camera is also,
the drugs will kick in soon.
Your camera is also going, stop me, because of a little bit of breakup there too.
Yeah. Wait a minute. I'm only broadcasting on 3. I've only got 3 screens going. What's going on? Let me check something here. Ooh. That might explain it. Maybe. Well, now that I have 3 different screens going, there might be. Oh, thank you, Junji. This might be one of those situations where I'm like, I might have to kill one of the screens. It might solve the problem. Might not. I don't know. I mean, I can't. That's one thing with this dual screen setup I have right now that goes vertical. Both screens are active whether I want them both or not. It's basically a yes or no. So let me see. I'm just going to move over here for a second and grab a remote control for the third screen. Now, I'm not sure if the batteries in the remote are any good.
We were contemplating that maybe the graphics card was sort of overtaxing things.
Looks like that. Well, it is a NVIDIA 2080 Ti Super. So in theory, it should be able to do this no problem. In theory. Now, the reality apparently is not so much. But let me try one more thing, because I think I can turn it off if I manually.
Okay. You might also, Neff, have to disconnect and reconnect because there's a lot of lag right now.
Okay, so let me do that. I will join you in 1 second. I just have to figure out how to disconnect here. How do I disconnect?
Hang on, folks.
It's not giving me the option to disconnect.
From Discord?
We'll be right back as soon as I figure out what's going on. I'm trying to stop. Okay, hold on. Let me turn off the camera and see if that helps for a minute.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm going to turn it back on in a second. Because I can't stop watching. Oh, all right. So, turn the stream back on. Turn the camera back on. And let's see if that helped any.
Dun, 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 dun. And now you're way off the screen again. I have to.
I didn't. Oh dear. And the camera moved. That's why.
It's the head from Jackbox, folks.
Yeah, didn't I tell you I'm moonlighting as Cookie Masterson?
Hey, at least the lag is gone now.
There we go. Let's see. Let's try that again. Oops. Oh dear. Let me just stand up for 1 second here. Actually, if I move back, it'll be okay. Let's see. I've moved back, and I'm not showing up on the screen, and I don't know why. Oh, there we are. No, I've gone back as far as I can. So let me try one thing. I'm going to put my camera off 1 second. The joys of having, fancy new monitor. The built-in camera sucks. And the camera that used to not suck. Whoops. As I'm losing, parts. Let's try it again. All right, now. Okay, so now I'm gone back as far as I can.
Yeah, more or less you're okay now. Yeah, there you go. I'll adjust
there we
there.
Go. Okay. Oh, that was fun.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, as I said, I didn't realize with a new toy comes new problems. I may have to. Now, there's one thing I could also try.
Oh, no, I think we're good.
Okay, you think we're good? Okay. No, I was going to say, there's one other thing I could try, which is actually to change the angle, because right now I have the bottom screen angled at about 45.
Okay.
Right? So if I push the top screen down a little bit more, it would be more of an angle. Oh, there we go. Oof. Well, I guess it's better than nothing right now, folks. That's why I wanted to check this before we went on air. I guess we didn't check it enough. Oh.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yikes.
Something we'll be checking, if you will, in a little bit is the Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve, which, alas, we did not finish last night.
That game seems to invariably want to drag on and on and on. It's kind of scary, actually.
But I think we're going to try the Lucky Charm here tonight and see what that does with regards to, male Strongheart being full of himself and whatnot.
I strongly suspect what we're going to see is a certain detective popping up again with some exculpatory evidence.
Mm-hmm. One old Sherlock Holmes, the game's version of Sherlock Holmes.
Yes, and unlike Sherlock Holmes, Sherlock Holmes seems to be a bit more full of himself.
Yeah. So going to be playing that in a little bit. Let's talk about some news from Japan, Neff. And, this is actually kind of, it may be a little difficult to talk about, but the fact that it's been covered in such places as Variety lately, I think warrants mentioning. And it also warrants mentioning because we used to be an anime and J-pop radio station. And I think you know what I'm talking about.
You know what? I'm not 100% sure, actually, what you're referring to.
Okay. So, over the years on the station, we've played a lot of music sung by boy bands in Japan under the umbrella of Johnny and Associates.
Mm-hmm.
Now, after the founder, Johnny Kitagawa, who's been involved with the company for decades, after he passed away, there were a lot of allegations that surfaced that Mr. Kitagawa sexually abused performers over a period of many years. Many people have come forward. Earlier this year, BBC did a documentary about it. And Johnny and Associates at first didn't want to do much about the matter, and then more people kept coming forward and coming forward. They finally decided to, let's have an independent panel investigate all this. And the panel, I believe at the end of August, concluded that yes, Johnny Kitagawa did sexually abuse performers under his umbrella over a course of several decades, and they recommended compensation for the victims and that the president, who is Kitagawa's niece, resign. So I think about a week after that report came out or something like that, that's exactly what happened. And it looks like from the Variety report that I read, which came out either today or yesterday, Johnny and Associates is going to not collect fees from performances of its performers for about a year, I think.
Oof.
For the next year, all performance fees for advertisements and program appearances will be paid to the talent themselves. We will not receive compensation as an entertainment production company. It's maybe one of the things that they're trying to do to try to, apologize and try to do better after the incident. And another thing is that many of the news outlets in Japan and the public broadcaster kind of swept this under the rug a little bit for such a long time because Johnny Kitagawa had very close relationships with these outlets, and everybody feared that if they reported something out of the ordinary about him, that he would just say, okay, my boy band is not appearing on your show anymore, not appearing in your commercials anymore. So it's pretty big deal. And I guess after BBC and a lot of foreign news outlets, in fact, one of the confessions from a former Johnny's performer came at the Foreign Press Club of Japan. So that will garner some international coverage from there. But quite a bit of a spin for, the company in Japan that was the face of boy bands for so long. And then, of course, until recent years when the Korean wave comes on its way through.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that any monetary compensation is cold comfort to the victims, but this sort of thing, especially when there are those that know and choose to say nothing. Those that know and choose to say nothing are, in my mind, just as guilty. I mean, not to compare the two because it's not anywhere near as severe, hopefully. But I don't know if you saw the news recently. Recently hired NHL coach Mike Babcock has been accused of forcing his players to display photographs from their phones that he would then airplay in the coach's room.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, this is also the same coach who several years ago was outed as being abusive to his players while he was coaching the Maple Leafs, and former players from his other teams, Detroit and Anaheim, also accused him of these same sorts of ideas. See, the problem is, again, it's the same problem. The sports industry hears these stories and buries them because they know that if they report them, then if they're not, they get cut off from access, etc. Right? So it's like, ugh. Now, again, the latest things are allegations, and until somebody independently verifies them, especially because of the source of the allegations, I don't want to say anything.
Right.
But given his track record, Mr. Babcock may have a lot of explaining to do. I don't know.
Right. Just reading more of the Johnny's article from Variety. went on for several decades, may have affected more than 100 clients. Evidence of his abuse was even presented in a 2003 defamation court hearing, but it took a further 20 years and a BBC documentary to bring the matter to public and corporate attention. The abuse findings were made by the independent panel put together by Johnny's, and apparently an independent panel put together by the United Nations, because it's a violation of human rights.
Wow.
And apparently the press I didn't read this part. The press conference, the initial press conference, I guess from last week, where they announced they were making the changes, and the niece of Johnny was resigning as president. That press conference in Japan lasted 4 hours.
That is astounding. I
Yeah.
mean, what could you possibly say, and what could the reporters possibly ask
Yeah.
in 4 hours?
Yeah. And
Wow.
some companies are disassociating themselves from Johnny's talent. Lately, they include McDonald's in Japan, Nissan, and Kirin. And they told that, I believe, this week they made that decision. And I'm sure other companies have pretty much followed suit as well.
Yeah, I can well imagine, because these days the brands do not want to be associated in any way, shape, or form with anything that toxic.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other way. There's no other way to describe those type of acts other than toxic, and the people that do them as toxic.
Right. So I know it's a tough topic, but it is something, us doing what we've done and playing these guys' music for so long. I think this is something that we do have to bring up. I kind of I understand what these companies are doing by disassociating themselves from Johnny's talent. I feel for some of the talent who may not have been affected directly by Kitagawa's actions, that they'll have to find other. They're probably going to have to, make other arrangements now for, for work and stuff.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know what the agency situation is like in Japan, whether or not they can simply move, and what their contracts would say.
Right.
That's the problem too, because if they have contracts with Johnny's, they may not be able to simply just, pack up and leave.
Right.
Although in this situation, I would suspect that Johnny's would be a little less likely to say, "Hey, no, you can't go,"
Right.
because of the repercussions of doing such. But now in the general public's eyes.
Right. Would XAR follow suit if you were a radio station? That's a tough question.
Yeah. See, the problem with these type of things, it's always art and artist.
Mm-hmm.
Because, throughout the decades, we've seen artists,
mm-hmm.
Who've done horrible things, and you have to make a decision. Okay,
right.
Do we, cut this off, or do we say, no, let's, move on, and just disassociate from the artist as opposed to the art?
Right. We are getting close to the top of the hour, and I know we want a lot more we wanted to talk about here tonight, but I do want to point out, speaking of, mentioning radio station, we are trying to think of some other ways to bring everybody together besides these podcasts. So we're also thinking, this is not going to happen right away because I have the trip coming up and whatnot, but we might put the wheels in motion after I return, and after Bree and I enjoy our time in Kanakistan. About doing some more things for you guys, including some streams that might be exclusive to Discord, some events that might be exclusive to Discord, because now we have the capability to do that. We did a test, I think, with this, I think before I went to Saratoga, or in the beginning of Saratoga when I was up there. Chaos. No, not chaos. Mika's husband is in the chat. Hello, chaos. But anyway, so we will keep you informed about all that as the weeks go on, and we kind of again put these wheels into motion. And yes, you'll probably after tonight, you'll probably see us again at the end of the month or the beginning of October. After things settle back down in this neck of the woods, at least. But in any event, Neff, anything else you'd like to say before we kind of wrap things up for tonight?
Well, I guess we'll leave it for next time, but I wanted to talk about a couple of new manga I picked up while I was, shall we say, unavailable.
Oh, okay, yeah, we can do a few minutes. Sure. What do you got?
Okay. This one has one of those long titles. I cannot remember the entire title. I'll try.
Okay.
But it strikes me as very much now the infamous redo of Healer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That is a strictly, as far as I'm concerned, older teen / 18 plus title. But this is not that title. This is a title. It goes like this. Betrayed by my comrades and left to die in a dungeon, and yet I made level 9,999 friends, and I'm seeking revenge.
That's the title?
That's pretty much the title. Yeah, I can get you the exact title. I don't have my iPad right in front of me, so I can't.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
It's one of those long ones. It's really long. But, it's like, okay, a bunch of different races, including a human, a 12-year-old human, mind you, okay, are off adventuring. And the 12-year-old human is the one that they betray. And they leave him to die. In fact, this artist takes great pleasure in drawing the ways by which this 12-year-old is going to be eradicated, because apparently he is not the be all and end all that the other races thought he was.
Yeah.
Okay. So he manages to teleport himself into the deepest part of the dungeon, where his power, which was basically on the surface trash, becomes this uber powerful ability to summon beasts and other things who are insanely loyal to him.
Mm.
And it's like, okay. And one of the problems with this thing is that he apparently stays down there 3 years honing his skills.
Mm.
But he still looks like he's 12 years old.
Oh.
Because of one of the artifacts that he creates.
Okay.
And so seeing a cherubic 12-year-old with, the glint of vengeance in his eyes is mildly disturbing. I'll say that. So far, he's gotten revenge on one of them. Now, in this case, he didn't kill them, but he's put it to them point blank and saying, "You're staying alive to see what I do to everybody else."
A Dexter mentality, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, oh boy, when he finally gets to some of the more major of the characters who turned on him, this is going to get very ugly. Now, so far there are 3 volumes, and it's apparently a light novel series that this is the manga version of. And part of me wants to buy the light novel. The other part's like, no, I don't need to hear or read, more descriptive of, getting, stabbed through the legs and just, no.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and then a couple of others, which we'll say for next time.
Okay.
But needless to say, I spent some very interesting nights while I was in rehab reading this stuff. Oof.
Caldwell wants to know if we've watched. No, I have not watched a live action One Piece.
No, I haven't yet either. I've been meaning to, but it's been like, okay,
right,
4 or 5 hours of physio a day still, and then it's like, okay, I need to turn my brain off because my body hurts, my brain hurts, something's got to stop hurting.
Yeah. Hopefully it won't hurt reading the closing commentary with the brand new X.
If you have any questions, concerns, compliments, or complaints about this podcast or anything you see on Extreme Anime Radio, drop us a line at extremeanimeradio@gmail.com or hit us up on social media. To do that, you go to linktree.com/anime radio. There you'll find links to our Facebook page, our Instagram account, our Twitter, our /X account, our Twitch server, our YouTube channel, and archived versions of this podcast are available at anchor.fm/anime radio.
I'm trying to throw Neff off and I just can't, me doing this on purpose.
Yeah, sorry, you can try to throw me off, but I know it's X now. Although I will say this, I listen to Sirius XM radio, and there are a number of hosts that either won't use X or keep forgetting to use X, and they get called out by their co-hosts, which is absolutely hilarious. It's like, okay, we know you don't like it, but you never know what Elon might do. He might just try to buy Sirius XM and get you fired.
So, some people are using the old Prince one and call it the X formerly known as Twitter.
No. Yeah, it might actually work.
Yeah. Well, folks, this will end our first podcast of season 8. We'll be back in a few weeks' time after the invasion of Kanukistan with a full report and more manga to talk about from Neff, I'm sure. But we're going to get set here, for those of us watching now, to maybe or maybe not finish the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. We're just going to keep repeating it on a loop until we actually finish the darn thing.
It tends to drag, like most court cases do.
So until we see you again, for Neff, I'm JR. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And remember,
keep on looking out for the Extreme Radio Twitch streams. And don't forget, once again, archive podcasts are available at anchor.fm/anime radio. Good night, everybody.
Good night. See you next time.